Today, we're jumping into a huge commercial crossroads that businesses in India face every single day. Should we make in India, or should we source from somewhere else in the world to save on costs? Now, this isn't about policy or politics. We're talking about the real, on-the-ground, high-stakes decisions that procurement teams are making, decisions that seriously affect a company's bottom line, its stability, and even its place in the bigger economic picture.
So it really boils down to this one question. Do you go all in on local sourcing with all the incentives and benefits that come with it? Or do you chase that lower price tag, that siren song from the global market? This is the core conflict, and believe me, the pressure to get this right is just massive.
And this slide, this just nails the feeling, right? It's a total tug of war. On one side, you've got local sourcing pulling you in with things like tax benefits, way shorter delivery times, and, crucially, a more resilient supply chain. But then on the other side, the global market is pulling hard with what looks like a knockout punch. The lowest possible landed cost, super mature suppliers, and the kind of scale that's tough to compete with. And procurement teams, they're stuck right in the middle of this thing. So how do most folks try to solve this puzzle? Well, they usually start with the simplest, most obvious comparison. And, as we're about to see, that simple approach, it's often a deeply flawed and, honestly, a very expensive mistake to make.
This right here is the trap. You get two quotes on your desk. The local one is 120 rupees, and the global one is 100 rupees. It seems like a no-brainer, doesn't it? Go global, save 20 rupees apiece. Easy. But this comparison is dangerously simple. It's missing a huge piece of the puzzle.
The way to see the full picture is by using a concept called total cost of ownership, or TCO. It's a game changer because it forces you to look way beyond that initial price. You have to consider every single cost that comes with that decision over its entire life. It's all about finding the true all-in cost.
You know that initial price tag? It's really just the tip of the iceberg. What's lurking underneath the water is what can sink you. We're talking about all the hidden costs of that cheaper global part, the crazy logistics and duties, needing to hold way more inventory, the painful cost of quality failures and rework, not to mention the risk of a global disruption shutting down your whole operation. All of a sudden, that 20 rupee saving looks pretty tiny, doesn't it?
Okay, so that's the theory. Let's get real. How does this actually play out in the real world? We're going to take a look at how some of India's biggest and most successful companies are navigating this exact dilemma using a much smarter playbook.
First up, a name everyone knows, Tata Motors. They have been a massive champion of localization, really focusing on building a rock-solid supply chain right here at home. But here's the thing that's so important to learn from them. For Tata Motors, localization wasn't like flipping a switch. Not at all. It was a long-term investment. That meant they actually had to accept higher costs in the beginning, while they spent years developing local suppliers and running quality programs with them. The lesson is crystal clear. Real localization takes time, money, and a whole lot of patience. Okay, now for a global titan doing business in India, Apple. Their move to manufacture iPhones here has been huge news. You'd think a company with Apple's power could just make it happen overnight, right? But look at their strategy. It teaches us to be cautious. They didn't just move everything at once. They carefully, methodically built out a whole supplier ecosystem and then slowly ramped up their production. It's proof that even when you're localizing, that intense global pressure on cost and quality, it never, ever goes away.
All right, let's switch gears completely into heavy industry and infrastructure with a giant like Larsen & Toubro, or L&T. Their take on this is really interesting.
L&T's strategy gives us another golden nugget of wisdom. They didn't choose one or the other. They didn't go all local or all global. They built a hybrid model. For parts that needed tons of coordination and support, they went local. But for those super specialized, critical components where global suppliers were simply the best, they stuck with them. This shows that the smartest answer is often a strategic mix, the best of both worlds. And for our last case study, let's look at Reliance Industries, a company known for its massive, complex projects. How do they handle this puzzle?
So Reliance's approach is incredibly strategic and forward-thinking. If a local supplier has the capability, they use them. But if there's a technology gap, they'll bring in the global experts. Now, here's the brilliant move. They write capability transfer clauses right into the contracts. This legally requires the global supplier to help train and build up their local partners over time. They're literally using their purchasing power to build future capability. It's genius.
So, after looking at how these titans operate, what have we learned? Well, we can actually pull their strategies together into a pretty clear and actionable framework that any company can use to make better sourcing decisions. It really boils down to 4 key behaviors. First, don't think of it as an all-or-nothing choice. Build a hybrid model like L&T. Second, don't try to localize everything at once. Do it in phases, starting with your most critical parts. Third, and this is non-negotiable, always track the total cost of ownership, not just the sticker price. And finally, number 4, get everyone, from finance to the CEO, on the same page that localization might cost a bit more upfront, and it's going to take some time.
You know, when you put it all together, this really calls for a fundamental shift in how we think. The goal can't just be about finding the cheapest part for this quarter's results. It has to be about building a supply chain that's strong, resilient, and delivers real value for years to come.
Look, if you take only one thing away from our chat today, please let it be this. That price you see on the invoice, that's just the beginning of the story. The real cost, the total cost, is so often hidden, and finding it, well, that's the key to making a truly great decision. So I'll just leave you with this final question to think about. The next time you're faced with a big sourcing decision, just pause for a second and ask your team, are we just buying a price tag here, or are we strategically investing in and building long-term value? I promise you, the answer will change everything.